Hi, my name is Steve Aguilar. I'm here today with the Twisted 67 GTO.
I'm Sean Smith. I'm the designer of the Twisted GTO.
Today we're here to talk about the features of the GTO and the fact that it's up for sale. The car will be up for auction at the MECA Monterey Car Week event. And the point of this video, besides bringing Sean in to describe the work and the design that went into bringing this car about, is that I want to document what the car is and as well as show all the features that has not really been clarified or shown. So to better describe the design and the implementation of the vehicle, I'm going to turn it over to Sean Smith.
You know, the first freshman effort we did was the 71 Camaro, and he followed up with this car. We really wanted to make it a reliable, nice, daily, timeless driver, and as these projects have a way of taking a life of their own, it kind of turned into this. The inspiration of the car, actually, after talking a lot with Steve and kind of ideation of many theories that could be done with the car and concepts, we kind of settled on a theme of just making the car better of the original version. In my mind, when I started putting pencil to paper, I started thinking, if John DeLorean had a limited budget at General Motors, and obviously we know John DeLorean's a man of excess, he was a project manager at GM back when he incepted this car, what would the ultimate GTO be if it was inspired by European luxury and almost a classic European GT car? With that said, we decided to actually just do the car better as if GM had today's technology at hand, building it back in 1967. So I would say the car's overall inspiration is the car itself. We just kind of looked at the car and made a better version of it. I think when you look back at the car and the silhouette of a 67 GTO, nobody ever wants to be responsible of ruining the shape of a GTO or ruining the car. We just wanted to make what was already there better. But some of the things that we did look at, what we find unesthetically pleasing, was a lot of the trim that was used on the car back in those days was a lot of pot metal, and it's just finished with a lot of humongous panel gaps or gaps that were between sheet metal and the chrome itself. So we decided to replace a lot of that, as you can see in the front here. We remachined all the headlights and custom made all the front bumpers by hand. Tucked those in to the body tight, redid this whole area, kind of made a triangular shape with the taillights and CNC. This is all digitally scanned and redesigned, actually. And taking all these details and just doing a better, cleaner version of what they did from factory and making it all tighter and more taut in the front end. And that's kind of what we did throughout the whole car. I mean, if you look from the car on the side of it, they had the chrome rocker moldings that were very well known on the 67 GTO. But again, it was pot metal. It's all hand fabricated. It's all finished off in nickel plating by Ogden Chrome. As much as we wanted to embrace the original architecture of the car, there are a lot of hundreds of hours invested in change in this car that really give it a one-off, unique craftsmanship feel.
Some of the things that Sean talked about, I want to point out. As an example, this piece here is two pieces, and there was a line here with a big gap. This was made one piece and then welded together and then nickel plated. The license plate was removed, and then the bumper was then made more streamlined, so you don't have that big license plate sticking out. We kept the original grille, but we just nickel plated it. And then instead of having the cheap plastic turn signal parking lamps, these are all billet machined by Evad. So these are all billet machined. Nothing here is pot metal or original GM parts.
A nice little detail too is we took this body line and actually added that into the CNC part. And it's just little details like that that are throughout the car that kind of building an emotional connection and all the details of the car.
One of the hardest things to do when you're working, as now this is my second build with Sean, working as a client, working with him, is picking out the colors. And that's from the interior colors to the outside colors. Since we had already used a European red on our previous build, we decided on this one to go again with BMW. We had looked at several different blues, and Sean brought this one to me, and we knew this was it.
Yeah, the color's pretty polarizing. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful blues out there, but we wanted something that had a good balance of metallic flip into the body. I think when you're looking at paint on a show car or a car as custom as this, it's important to have a paint that kind of entertains you and kind of dazzles you for the most part. You look at it and it does one thing, and then it kind of subtly does another thing. So this car does a nice shift to gray, to blue, to green, to even some highlights of teal. It's just a modern version of what they did back in 1967. You know, Steve really did like the red from the Camaro, and we went back and forth on doing that on this car. But where we kept the red was in the interior, and then, as you'll see shortly, in the details and in the engine bay.
One more thing to add to that, the paint was shot in a way that you had your base coat, then I spec'd out I wanted 4 coats of clear. The car was then color sanded and 4 more coats of clear were applied. So that's where you get the depth and the real sheen of the metallic in the car. So there's a lot of paint on this car, and it'll be there for many, many years. Another thing I want to point out is when the car was painted, this panel here usually has the vents. So we had the vents removed to give it a smoother look in the front.
One of the things that we wanted to do on this blue paint was pick a trim color for the plating that was complementary to the muted red that we have in the interior, and also worked well with the BMW Blue Ridge metallic color. One of the things that I feel like makes the trim look a lot more expensive and more of a precious metal is the nickeling. So this is all nickel chrome. This is done from Ogden Chrome, which is a very high-end plater out of Ogden, Utah. So it just gives it a nice, more luxurious luster, a little bit more warmth.
So we took a lot of this factory trim, and typically on the Chevelle and the GTO, this trim comes around. This idea was to take the trim and cut it here so it flowed more smoothly. And then back here, there's usually a big gap between these 2 pieces of trim. So this was added and then made to look more symmetrical, it flows better. The door handles I want to bring up, these are actually billet machine door handles. These are not the factory door handles. And then the button is in about 3 millimeters, and it's an electronic solenoid that activates the C6 door latches. When we started to cut these bumpers and tuck them in, they were very difficult to do. But one of the things to do was to line up the lines here. So this line and the line in the body all meet. Then the rocker panel down below here meets the point of the bumper. So everything flows back here. Same thing here, everything just flows, and you had a very nice exit back out. And then the lights are all digital lights. We removed the 67 design light bucket and came up with a 3D printed bucket that's much smaller. And then Sean designed a couple of different versions of these taillight bezels covers. And then the other thing back here is we added backup camera. And then right here is the plug to charge the batteries. You don't have to, pop the trunk open to put the batteries on a maintenance charge. You simply plug it in right there. On the back of these Chevelles and GTOs, there's always a big gap here in between inside these corners here, and the water builds up and will then begin to rust this area. We sealed these. We actually extended the body up into these to fill the gap, and then we took this line and sharpened it and extended it just slightly, just to give this more of a raked and defined body line. So as I go in to pop the hood, we installed a BMW style hood system. So down here there's a handle. You pull it and the hood pops and the hood lifts up. So these are the BMW latches. As far as the engine goes, I can talk to it a bit. It's a 427 Dart. It has a 2.9 Whipple. It makes roughly 1,000 horsepower at the crank. Runs phenomenally. The car has power brakes, full air conditioning, 175 amp alternator. Over here in this area is the supercharger cool can. So this area here, you just add the water, the ice. It's already full of antifreeze, so it cools the supercharger. So the car is also an E85 car, so it runs on either ethanol or gasoline. It's designed to self-tune itself with a Holley Dominator and a MotionWorks Corvette sensor that reads the fuel percentage of alcohol. Transmission is a 4L80E hooked to a QA1 carbon fiber drive shaft, and then the rear end is an IRS, so Roadster Shop IRS chassis is as good as it gets. This is basically a Corvette, Pontiac sitting on a Corvette chassis.
The design theme of this was really, we wanted to do something different. We saw a lot of people doing a lot of monochromatic one-tone engine bays were, the engine bay is either one color, matte or satin. And we really wanted to break it up, and looking at a lot of the OEM stuff, there's a lot of multi-colors going on in the original GTO. So we wanted to keep the over fenders inside gloss black, but we still wanted to highlight the motor and make that the center of attention. So we chose the same color as the interior, that matte and muted red, and we matched the color to that and did a really nice satin on that. We took the exterior color of the trim, the nickel, and we placed it inside the engine bay, but this time most of it in here is brushed actually, so that gives it a little bit more hand quality, hand finished look underneath. It's got a Whipple supercharger, and we had Ring Brothers made up some side covers that made it to either side of the supercharger, covering up the rails that kind of integrate it down better and make the whole thing integrated going down to the valve covers. The valve covers are really like the highlight of the whole engine. I designed those one-off, and we did it multi-parts with parting lines, and those bezels kind of fasten in and out, and those are brushed aluminum. It complements the satin red really well. And of course we did a Pontiac logo on there to give it a more OEM feel. A lot of hand fabrication done on this. The core support covers all completely handmade. The over fenders on the inside are completely made, shaved firewall. The whole engine bay is really just a work of art. Underneath of the hood too is completely reworked, sheet metaled, custom painted, sanded, everything, just as nice as the outside and exterior paint. And then all the hard lines and all the hard details are finished off in anodized or nickel. There's just a lot of detail done to it, and we could go on for weeks about how much detail is done in the engine bay on this thing. It's really special.
So one other feature of the car, the wheels are one-off wheels. We decided that we want something between the factory wheel and a generic 5-spoke. Sean did a great job designing these, ended up Cerakoting them to two-tone. This is actually what's on the car now is the second set of wheels. The first set had a plate in it that was reminiscent of the factory wheel. I wanted to expose the brake caliper and the big brakes that are on the vehicle. So we removed the rotors, we had them all Cerakoted, and then took the lug nuts, had them Cerakoted, re-Cerakoted these wheels, replated them, and then exposed the brake system, not only just for the cooling, but also just to see the enormity of the calipers and how well designed they are. These are actually bare calipers that we shaved to give it a more custom look.
We really wanted the interior to be a homage to the original car, but just obsessively detailed with craftsmanship through and through. And we really wanted to use a lot of different materials actually to illustrate that on the car and especially inside the car. One thing that you'll notice is a lot of things are piano black, but then when you look upon it in light, it's actually like a ghosted wood is featured in the car on the piano black, which kind of gives it a mysterious look and feel. And that has a nice complementary look to the nickel. Everything's done and CAD modeled, and everything was thought through and through on the car. Like on the AC vents is a trapezoid shape, and we didn't stop there. We wanted a family of feel on the shapes of the car, so we felt the trapezoid was the most dominant shape of the dash, being the dash cluster shape. We bounced that on the AC vents, on the shift knob panel, throughout the AC vents down here, and it just gives it a really family feel and makes it look GTO without being blatantly saying, hey, look at me, I'm a GTO. I was looking at a lot of British cars and sports luxury cars like the Drop Dead and the Rolls Royces and the Bentleys, and looking at what they did on tailoring their cars with luxury details, but also giving it a sporty look as well. And I think the balance is really, really good on this car. I haven't been in this car in a long time, and I gotta be honest with you, it really resonates with me. It takes me right back to when we first talked and had the initial talks of the car and how excited I was. When I design an interior, I always want the interior to take you, I always say it should take you someplace you've never been before or someplace you haven't been in a really long time, and I think this interior actually does both. It takes you back to 1967, but it also makes you feel like you're going to 2037, so, yeah.
A lot of these little design features, Sean came up with this dash cover that just finished it all off. Dakota Digital was good enough to work with Sean, and the face of the instruments are the same Bordeaux red color as what's in the interior itself. So I wanted some Bentley influence on the interior, something a little more elegant. Sean and I talked about the shifter. So this has a very Bentley type feel to it. It's activated by pushing down on the center and then pulling back. And on the Dakota Digital dash, you can actually see the gear selection. When you turn the car on and put it in reverse, that activates the camera. So we connected that up and got that to work. The windows, so the switches are all Audi Q6, one touch. In terms of the back seat, as you can see, the back seat area has a very Bentley feel to it. And again, Sean designed the center package tray and that package tray center detail. The sill plates, so Sean came up with that design and we put the name of the car in the sill plate, and then the sill plates are painted the piano black, and then those are also a nickel. The front seats came out of a Blackwing Cadillac, and we cut them down and modeled them for this vehicle. The headrests are kind of an inspiration from the Charger design, and the seat belts run through them. It's really hard on a custom vehicle to come up with a nice clean seat belt. There's just nothing really to do, and for the sake of safety, I decided to go with shoulder and lap belts by Crow Enterprises. The stereo system has its own battery. So it's an Alpine system with 2 JBL amplifiers, subwoofer, and 12 speakers in the car.
So part of the fun of building these cars and being in our industry is once they're done, we can actually take them out during the summer and take them to a variety of events for hopefully we get some notoriety and achievements. And this car's had its share. From the time we debuted this car at SEMA, from the whole active summer of 2024, it's got its fair share of awards, and rightfully so. Steve, you want to share some of the highlights of the notoriety this car's gotten over the years?
Probably my two favorites of all is the Good Guys SEMA Gold that I received at SEMA in 2023. This one I find to be probably the most prestigious of all the awards. The other one that's very prestigious to me is the Elite 10 from the Triple Crown. The other award that I'm very proud of is the Trim Award that I received at SEMA for Best of Show. That one was given to me by TMI. When I won that award, they gave me a free interior, which is in my little Chevelle now. The car obviously is going to bid at Mecum, Monterey on August 14th through the 16th. The car actually goes up on the block that Saturday. And any questions that a potential buyer may have can reach out to us and we can answer those questions for you.
Forward to seeing what happens later on this summer. It's a perfect balanced car of a roadworthy, polarizing vehicle. You can definitely stand out at any car event, but it's also reliable enough and roadworthy enough to take you where you want to go and have a good time, which is very rare on these days in this industry. It's just a really special car, and good luck to whoever bids on it on August 16th.